Hello and welcome to today's session on Python IDs. We'll see what is an IDE, then we'll discuss about various Python IDs which are there, then we'll look into the difference between Jupyter Notebook and Spyder, then we'll have IDE walkthrough. An IDE or Integrated Development Environment is a software application that provides comprehensive facilities to computer programmers for software development. So it is basically a software application using which we can do some software development. So we can write our code using these IDs. So if you look at Python IDs, there are various IDs which are there in Python. We have Jupyter Notebook, there is PyCharm, Visual Studio, then there is Spyder, then Sublime Text, then Atom is there, Anaconda is there, and Vim is there. So there are like various IDs which are there in Python. So the one like we are going to use here within our sessions and all is mostly Jupyter Notebook and Spyder. These are the two IDs which we are going to use. So that's why like we'll be discussing about the difference between the two. You can also use PyCharm, Visual Studio, or Atom, or Sublime. So based on whichever ID you like, you can use that. So to look into the difference between Jupyter Notebooks and Spyder, Jupyter Notebook is a web-based IDE. So it works in a web browser. So now Jupyter Notebook can work on any web browser. Okay, so it can work on Chrome, it can work on Firefox, it can work on Safari, Microsoft Edge. Okay, so any kind of web browser you take, it can work on any of the web browser. If you look at Spyder, Spyder is a desktop app-based IDE which is dependent on OS platform. So Spyder is a app-based IDE. So based on the OS platform, suppose you are in Windows system, you have to install Spyder for Windows. You are in Mac, you have to install Spyder for Mac. So like that, here it is desktop app-based IDE. So it is dependent on the OS platform. Other thing in Jupyter Notebook is it provides live coding environment, equations, narrative text, visualizations, interactive dashboards, and other media. So now in Jupyter Notebook, you can also integrate like inline. You have inline visualizations. You can also put medias like videos, pictures, and all within Jupyter Notebook. And when it comes to Spyder, Spyder editor provides language aware code completion, error detection, and debugging tools. So Spyder is more towards language aware code completion. There is like a very powerful auto completion tool in Spyder. You have error detection and debugging tools as well. Like these tools also you have in Spyder. Jupyter Notebook, if you see, it also provides inline graphical support, but Spyder has no inline graphical support. But there are graphical support which will be mostly like outline graphs. And in Jupyter Notebook, you don't have any intelligent code analysis, but you have intelligent code analysis in Spyder. So both of these tools are good. Like you can either go with Spyder or you can go with Jupyter Notebook. Coding in Jupyter Notebook is quite easy, and it's also more interactive. Like you can put images, videos, those kind of thing. And in Spyder, it's mostly coding platform, so you can just code here, and you cannot add images and those kind of things in Spyder. And to learn Spyder also, there are a lot of features in Spyder, so it takes time to understand each of the feature. But what we will do today, we'll just go through the basic overview of Spyder as well as Jupyter Notebook. So we'll look into Jupyter Notebook. We'll have a walkthrough using Jupyter Notebook. Then we'll see Spyder. So we'll just write some basic code and we'll see how both of these tool works. So we'll have a walkthrough through Jupyter Notebook as well as Spyder. So first I'll just go to my launcher and I'll just launch Anaconda Navigator first. If you are in Windows system, you can also open up Jupyter Notebook directly from your start menu, or you can go to launcher and look for Anaconda. So here we have to wait for some time once Anaconda opens up. So you can see here it shows Anaconda Navigator. So this is our Anaconda Navigator, and within this we have like Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook. So both Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook are browser-based IDEs. They work on web browsers, and we have PyQt, that is a GUI for inline programming and all. And there is Spyder as well here, and GlueViz is used for data visualization, and Orange 3, this is a tool used for data mining, and we have RStudio for writing R code. So here basically like we are going to use Spyder or Jupyter Notebook. So basically like in our class we'll be using Jupyter Notebook, but you can also use Spyder. So we'll just have a walkthrough over this one, that is Jupyter Notebook, then we'll look into Spyder. Now to launch Jupyter Notebook, I'll just click on launch here. So it will open up Jupyter Notebook in a web browser. So whatever is your default web browser, it will open up Jupyter Notebook in that web browser. So here, like within my system, my default web browser is Safari. So it has opened up Jupyter Notebook in Safari. And here, like what we can do, like you can just go to the folder where you want to work. This is actually a home folder. By default it will show you your home folder. Like if you are in Mac system or Windows or Unix systems, it will by default point to the home folder. So now here like I'll go to my desktop and I'll create a folder here. Within desktop I'll just create a folder and I'll be working on that folder. So I'll just minimize this, and in my desktop I'm just going to create a folder and I'll just name it as Python files. Okay, so I've just named it as Python files. Now again I will go back to Jupyter Notebook. Yeah. So here like you can see Python files is showing up right now as I have created this folder in the desktop. Now I will go inside Python files and here I will write all my code. Okay, all the Python code I will be writing here. So now to start off with Jupyter Notebook, you can click on new. So here on the right hand side at the top you can see this new button, and just click on this new, you will see Python 3. So the current version which is installed with this particular Anaconda is Python 3.8. So I'll just click here on Python 3. So you can see this is the workbook. So here actually we can work, we can write our code and all within this Jupyter Notebook. So the file name is untitled now. This is untitled file. You can change the name of the file. You can name it as basic. I'll just name it as basic Python. I've just named it as basic Python. So this is my file name. And when I go back to the main file explorer, that is this is called as file explorer of Jupyter Notebook, you can see here basic python.ipynb file is created. Now see, by default Jupyter Notebook creates ipynb file. Ipynb stands for IPython notebook. Okay, so it is a notebook file. It is a Python file, but it is in the notebook format. It is not a direct Python file. A direct Python file will be of extension .py. The extension will be .py file extension. Here it is .ipynb file. Now here if you want to download it as Python also, I'll show you like going ahead, okay, how you can do that. So now if you look at Jupyter Notebook, we have few options here within Jupyter Notebook. We have a menu bar, we have a toolbar, and here here you can write code. Okay, it says in means input, so you can write your input code here which will give you some output. Now here this is an input block where you can write some input code, and you can see on the toolbar it shows here code. So now this block is for coding. There are other options here as well, like if you click on that, you'll get a drop down. You can see there is something called as markdown, raw NB convert, heading. So you can also put heading. You can write something called as raw NB convert formatted data. You can also click markdown. So markdown, like instead of clicking on heading, you can also use markdown. Markdown can be used for putting headings. You can use markdown for this one, like inserting medias, inserting movies, videos, or inserting your like pictures and all, photos and all. Okay, all those you can do here. So I'll just select markdown. So when you select markdown, you can write a markup language. So you can write like HTML or any other markup language. So here when you select markdown, you can notice the input is not there. So input went away. Okay, so there was some input text, it is not there. So now it is not an input block. So it is just a markdown block. So here I'll just give some title saying has means header. So here one has means header one, two has means header two, three has means header three. So like that. It just the font size will change. So here I'm giving two has. Then I'll write Python basic operations. Okay, so I'll write Python basic operations. Now here I have just written some title, so this will turn to a title. So this is a header, heading or title. Now to run this, there is a button here, run. You can click on that, or else you can use shift and enter. Okay, simultaneously, shift and enter key. So when I use shift and enter, it will execute that block, and you can see it has turned to a title. And now again it says input. Now again it is in coding block. So again it is in input block. So I can write some code here. So I'll write my first code, that is print hello world. So I'm just writing my first code, print hello world. Again, to run this, I will click on shift enter. So here it is giving me the output saying hello world. Okay, so you can just write your code, a block of code, and you can also see the output there itself. So you have the output there itself. So here also it says input one. One is nothing but the serial number. This is the serial of execution. So again, if I execute it, the number will change. Okay, so incremental fashion, so that you can see which block you executed when. That also you can see here. So this is how like you can write code. By default, it will the cell, these are called as cell, and this will be by default it will always be a code block, and you can change it to markdown as per your choice. In markdown you can also add images and other things. As I'm adding title, you can write description, you can add images, all those you can do in markdown. If you want to go back to that and again want to change, you can double click, it will come back again. Okay, so this is how like you can work around with Jupyter Notebook. And to look at certain other features within Jupyter Notebook, you have this one, like save and checkpoint. This floppy disk icon, what you see is save and checkpoint. So you can like save your code. By default, say whatever code you are writing gets saved automatically. If you click on save and checkpoint, it will create a copy of that. It will create a copy of that file. Here you have plus button. This is like adding extra cell. These are called as cell blocks. If you want to add extra cell, you can click on plus. You can click on this cut button to cut those cells. Then this is a copy, like you can copy the selected cell, you can paste the selected cell, then you can move this cell up and down like this. So this is like move button. Then run, you can use run, you can click on run to execute a code, or you can click on shift enter. And then this is stop the process, interrupt the kernel. Okay, the stop button, what you see is interrupt the kernel. So suppose you want to interrupt the process, you can use the stop button. Then the other one is restart, then restart and rerun everything again. Okay, so like that, certain options are there. And here we have some other options, like in file you can see like creating a new notebook, making a copy, saving the notebook in a different name, renaming. Okay, and save and checkpoint, print preview, you can also print, and download as. Now the file, whatever we are writing here is IPYNB file. If you want to download it as a Python file, you can download it from here. You can see an option .py. So it will remove all the images or any other titles and all you have added, and it will download it as Python file. Next, here we have edit option. These are the same options what you saw, like cutting cell, copying cell, paste cell, undo cells, like that. And some view options like toggle header, like hide and show header and toolbars. Insert option is also there, that is this plus button. Then there is running these cells, like rerun everything again. Okay, or run from the below, run the selected cell below, run cells and select below. So like that, other options are there. And kernel, this is like restarting your entire process, or reconnecting or shutdown. Okay, so now here, as it is a browser based IDE, what happens is like your file will be running. So when you go to the file explorer, you can see here file is running. Okay, if I close the file also, it will be running. It says it is running. Okay, I have closed the file, still it is running. So you can also see that here there is a running tab at the top. You can see here this file is running. So once you shut down, then it will close the file. Otherwise it will keep on running. Okay, so you have to shut down the file, then only it will close. And some other objects like widgets and help options are there, okay, through which like you can go to a documentation of Python, NumPy, all those things. So this is overall your Jupyter notebook. So now we will see Spyder. We'll see Spyder. So Spyder is also a IDE, which is a app-based IDE, and like we'll look into Spyder. You can use app-based IDEs like PyCharm. There is app-based IDE like Atom. Okay, other IDs are also fine. Anyone you can use. So I'll be using here Spyder ID. Now if I go to Anaconda Navigator, I will find the Spyder ID. Here we have something called a Spyder. Okay, so I'll just click on launch. I'll close this Jupyter notebook. I'll go to kernel shutdown. Okay, so now this is the Spyder ID. So it has opened the Spyder ID. This is the icon. So this is your Spyder ID. So here it says temp.py. Now in Spyder ID, whatever code you write, it will be direct Python file. Python scripts will be there. So now here to write a file, like write some code, I'll just write simply here print, and I'll write the same code, hello world. Okay, so I have written here print hello world. So now to execute this, here there is a play button you can see. So run file, you can also use F5 to execute this. So once I run this, on the right hand side you can see there is a console, and in that here it shows hello world. So we have given some input. So input is nothing but it is trying to run the entire file which is at this folder, and it is running that, and it is giving us the output. Now if I want to create a new file, or I want to work around a different file, then I can just create it here. So I'll just say new file, and I'll just rename it. Okay, I'll go to file, save as. So I'll just save it somewhere. So I'll save it in this folder, that is, instead of Spyder, I'll go to desktop, and I'll just save it in Python files, and I'll name it as basic.py. Okay, so I'll save this file as basic.py. So here it has given some comment. These are called as comment. It has created some comments saying this file was created this time, and I'll write some code. The same code I'll write here, that is print hello world. Okay, so when I execute this code, like once I execute this code, again it shows hello world is the output from this. So this is my Python file. So I can run this Python file from here by this play button. There are other things as well, like you can open a new folder. You can also rerun the code and run everything again. There is also something called as debug. These are like debug tools which are there, and this is like project. You want to create a different project, all those you can do here. So this is all about your Spyder. Similarly, you can use other app-based IDEs like this one, that is your PyCharm. That's also one of the most famous app-based IDE which is there, a desktop app-based IDE. So this is all about Spyder. Now here basic.py file is created. Suppose I want to execute this file directly, okay, from command line. Okay, I want to execute this file from command line and see the output. That also you can do. So I'll just close this Spyder. Okay, I'll just close Anaconda also. Okay, if it is open also it's fine, not a problem. So now here what I will do, I'll just go to my terminal. Okay, so I'll just open a new terminal. So terminal is nothing but a command prompt. Like in Windows system you have something called as command prompt. Here we call it as terminal. So here I am at my terminal, so I'll just go to my desktop. So now to go to desktop, you can use this code cd, means change directory, and I'll just move to desktop. Same code you can write in this one as well, that is your Windows system. And here I'll say cd of Python files. So I am saying cd of Python files. So it will move to Python files. Once again, cd of Python files. Okay, so now it is in Python files. So now I'm in Python files under my desktop, and in this I have something called as basic.py. This is my Python file. So one we created with Jupyter Notebook, the other one we created with Spyder. The file which we created with Jupyter Notebook, we cannot run it directly here from the command line, but the file which we created from Spyder, we can run it here. So I'll just run it. So you can run it by calling the Python binary. So that is the name is Python. This name is mapped to the binary of Python. Just write Python, then type basic.py and then click on enter. So when I click enter, you can see it is running this file and it is giving me the output directly. So it is directly running the script and I'm able to see the output. So this is how we can also run the Python files, or else you can use Jupyter Notebook, in which the file will be in a different format, IPYNB, where you can see the output in the code, like while writing the code itself you can see all the output, or else you can use the app based IDs. Okay, so this is all for today's session. Okay, hope you got a lot of information regarding this, like using different IDs. Okay, so we'll wind up here. Thank you.